Cassius Clay Production.
I remember I would go through this trail and go to a golf course. I didn't know how to golf. I was a kid, just a kid being a kid. But I remember coming back and these three white boys jumped out of the bushes with Rambo knives and was literally real Rambo type first blood knives. Like, let's kill this nigga. And I mean, I'm on my bike hauling it. And again, as crazy as it might sound, I didn't process that. And at that time, I didn't even tell my parents that because they never talked about race. They never talked just never talked about race for whatever reason, and to this day, I've never really even asked them, but they never talked about race. I mean, and then bump it to high school. I mean, I've had white people tell me, you're pretty cool for a black guy. And again, I know it might sound crazy, but I just didn't internalize it the way I do now. And truth be told, it wasn't until I went to North Carolina Central University where I kind of understood where some of that hatred came from. Because again, we learned Martin Luther King, peace. Rosa Parks, peaceful. We don't learn about any of the influential African Americans who were angry, and they showed it, And I think that's designed, to be honest with you. But anyway, those kind of experiences, I still never let it change my judgment of other people. And that's why I say I'm always on the fence, because the same way you take a white person who says that all black men who wear hoodies or sagged up pants are thugs. That's not the case. It's fashion. So I deem it only right to say, you know what? Not all white people are bad. I'm not going to let these one or two people skew my entire judgment of an entire race. I think that's totally unfair to do that.
I remember being a young man, we used to play basketball in the middle of the street. When cars would come by, we stop, let them go by, and we start back playing. And I remember, just being kids, somebody got mad and kicked the ball and it rolled into, of course, an older Caucasian lady's yard. And of course we had, as young men, you don't necessarily key in on racism, you just key in on people being mean. So we all knew she was a mean old lady. But, when our ball went into her yard, she basically called us some little nigger children and dared us to come, get the ball out of her yard. So sad to say we lost the basketball that day.
Let alone, everybody says African American. I say I'm back in the U.S. So what's happening now? I didn't have these problems when I was in Iraq. I didn't have these problems in Turkey. I didn't have these problems in Iran or Spain. But as soon as I touch U.S. soil and I get pulled over for the first time, and because I'm a little bigger than the officer that's pulling me out of the car, now I'm seen as a threat. So that was my first taste of racism, and it got worse as time went on because you can't handle the fact that the man that you stopping or pulling over, or because of my demeanor, I'm already on defense, that I'm a threat. And that's scary because I try to tell my son, he has a mouth on him. So I'm like, you're already considered a threat when you get out. You're already big, you're muscular, you got your hoodie on most of the time because the kids wear their hoodie all dang day. And so when you get out of these vehicles, you don't know the mindset of that officer or that person that's pulling you over.
It was in college. We was going to visit a friend of mine that went to Georgia Tech, and just driving in our mom, dad car. I think my dad had like a Mercedes at the time, so we were just driving around, being college students. We were having fun trying to figure out where he was at. We couldn't find him, and all of a sudden, about 6 or 7 cops pulled up on us, and they already had guns drawn out. It was one of the most scariest moments I ever had in my life, where you see about 7 guns pointed at you. And so I remember they taking us out of the car. They had us in handcuffs. They had us sitting on the ground. And, at the time, I ain't gonna lie, I was talking crazy. I was talking junk because a cop told me I could say whatever I want to say to the police officer as long as I don't threaten them. So I'm just talking junk, like, I know why y'all doing this, blah, 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 blah. And what they told us is someone called the police and said we was going in and out of cars. We was breaking into cars. And I'm like, we haven't even been out our car. Like, we've been driving around trying to figure out where my friend lives. And I was saying, I know why y'all doing this. I know why. And I'll never forget, a black woman was over to the left, had her hand on her hip. She was standing back and she just shook her head and said, I'll never forget that. Because we was black males in nice cars, and whoever it was, and I'm not even, the crazy thing, that night I probably won't even blame it all on the cops. Whoever called the police on us was straight racist. Like, you saw black men in a nice vehicle and you called the police on us. And till this day, I still get mad at that incident.
But I remember being about 11, 12 years old, and I grew up in a beach town also. And it's mostly white people who live near the beach. And I was working, when I was like 12, 13 years old, I was working at a restaurant on the beach. And I remember I got my first paycheck, and I was happy because, it's my first paycheck ever. And I was walking to the beach, and I had to walk through a neighborhood to get to the beach. And a cop came up on me, and I was a small child. Like, I grew up, I don't think I hit 100 pounds until I was well into high school. And so I was a small child. And I remember a cop rode up on me and, stopped me and told me that a few people in the neighborhood had called the cops and told them that somebody who fit the description of a burglar was walking through the neighborhood. And so, like I said, I was young, so I didn't recognize it at the time. But as I got older, I realized what kind of little bit of 11, 12, 13-year-old boy fit the description of a burglar at that time. So he made me get on the bus and leave the island where the beach was. And so I got on the bus and got from over there. But it was little things like that. One time I was riding through the island of Palm Beach, and a cop pulled us over, and I was driving it was in 1996. And I remember that because I had a 1996 Corolla, and the cop followed us for about 3 miles. Finally, they pulled us over, and they said they ran our tags, and the tags came up to a person that did not have insurance. We were thinking, how's that possible? You have to have insurance to drive the car for a lot. And so, I've experienced little things like that, starting when I was in elementary, but throughout. And so that's why I make it a habit of staying around my own folks.
I encountered racism when I was like 4 years old. My mom was driving school buses, and I won't say that school, is all good. So, but she was driving the school bus, and I'm sitting on the school bus, and I wasn't able to go to school at that time, so I would ride with her when she'd pick up the kids. And a white kid got on the bus and said, "Look at the little nigger." And my mom went off, and she, of course, she didn't touch the kids, but the principal came on there, and they had to get on. And the kid had to been no more than 9 or 8, maybe 7. I don't know. It might have been 9, 10. Might have been something like, I know he was in elementary school. And he called me. He said, "Look at the little nigga." It was a white boy. So, and I mean, that was like when I was 4 years old, and I experienced it even later. Where I always experienced it being with my friends. We would get pulled over, and just like me and my cousin would be somewhere, and police would just run up on you, and just because they're having a roadblock, and just automatically think you're doing something. And I had a couple of my friends and my cousins and stuff like that happened to us right in Augusta, Georgia. You know what I'm saying? And luckily we weren't doing nothing wrong, and luckily it still, it don't even matter if you ain't doing nothing wrong sometimes. And I had it happen in Myrtle Beach before, We got slammed on cars. Some of my friends got cuffed. One of my friends got cuffed and put in jail. And we was only selling CDs that was ours. We had to go to court, and the judge even said it was racist. A black judge in Horry County. You know what I'm saying? They gave us all fines. Like I said, my friend from DC, they threw him in jail. The NAACP seen the whole thing. They came talk to us. So I said, you see what I'm saying? They never stop. That's what I was saying. Like, it don't never stop. It don't matter how old you are. It's hard. It don't never stop. So it's like I'm scared for my son.
I think I was 13 or 14. I was playing the Xbox. And back in the day when like Call of Duty and stuff was coming out, you would play online. And if people found out you were black, it was like, hit him, like get the dogs on him. It was like, I got called the N-word. It was like, you don't know your dad, you're poor, don't play basketball, all types of stuff crazy like that. So it kind of prepared me for more racism that I know is going to come in my life. And people also prepared me for that. And the next racism I experienced was in high school, but it was more so subtle racism, like people saying slick things, or people like bullying somebody else, talking about your dad, and the white kid will be like, you know your dad, like as a joke. And then it'll also be like, I've been called the N-word, like not to my face, because I guess they're afraid to say it to me, but like I'll walk past somebody and they'll like mumble under their breath the N-word. It's just like, I could hit you right now, but I'm not doing it. Because it's, as experiencing racism, it's also an internal conflict for me. Because it's like, one, you're disrespecting me and calling me all these things. I want to fight you. But it's also, I don't want to fit into the stereotype of being an aggressive black person. So most of my encounters with racism in my life was definitely high school. Was definitely where the racism was like prominent. Like even in the lunchroom, it was like segregated. Like the white kids sat with each other and the black kids sat with each other and never really mixed. And also I was in a program called the IB program, and I was only one of the four. It was only 4 black men in there, and the rest was like, it was like 8 black women, and then it's like white dudes and white girls. And it was just, it was so much racial tension just being in the room, mostly between the white men and the white women in the room. It was just constantly like subliminal racism, people going at each other for honestly no reason. And it's crazy to think that I was sitting in the same room as these people that hated me, or they liked me but they hated other black people.
I was maybe like 3 years into my career, and I went up for a position, for a promotion, and it was between myself and one other candidate who was a white female. She had a heck of a lot less education than I had, oddly enough. No other education other than her GED. She was an outside candidate of the company, whereas I had the education and I'd had experience in the company itself. And they actually hired her for that role over me, because she was a white female. And it was also a little case of nepotism there, where she knew somebody that worked there. And then I think where the insult and the injury, to add the insult to injury, came in for me was I was asked to train her how to do the job even after she was hired. So yeah, those are those experiences I've had those several times. Those experiences are always tough, because it's like you don't want to show them, well, for me at least, I don't want to show them that they were able to win, right? And so you kind of do it with a smile on your face, and you go home and you just like, I could just strangle everybody, but that's such is life, that's all a part of life.
First off, I'm just black and I'm proud, period. You know what I'm saying? And I know, like, at the end of the day, man, for us having it so hard, it makes us strong. So it's like a plus for that, you know what I'm saying? It makes us very strong. It makes us strong-minded, and it just makes us, like, physically have to be tough. And that's a good thing a lot of times, especially when life is hard, so that you can get through a lot of other stuff that people be like, man, it's no way they'll kill themselves if they had to deal with some of the stuff. So it's kind of like, that's a good thing, and I think, like I said, first off, it's like just being black and being proud of who your ancestors and your fathers, your grandfathers, and all that. It carries a little smile when you look in the mirror, because especially when you done got a little farther than your ancestors. And like on days like Juneteenth, I can only imagine how they felt when they got the word that they free. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at like just going to work, sometimes you just gotta smile about that, because you choose to go to work. Nobody making you go to work. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say being a black man, sometimes I smile, because it's kind of like I see my ancestors, and I wrote a song about that. The spirit of slaves give pain to my written flows, like, because I know that they ain't have the freedom to do none of the stuff that we got. So it's kind of like you got to be black and proud and be happy for them, because they smiling down at us.
I think the resiliency is what I value most. Because in order to be able to endure all of the things we endure and still thrive and still survive in this society, that takes a lot.
I guess the thing that I value the most about being a black man is being a black man, the black culture. We as black people are so unique, so creative, just so innovative that it's hard to not want to be a black man, to be a black human being right now.
Think about the many, many years when black people were voiceless. They turned to the body to speak their truth and to be in that communion of sanctified liberation.
Our past, because a lot of people don't know our past. A lot of people know what they see in them school books that ain't factual. We got a manufactured school system, and what I mean by that, they put in the books about who discovered what, who invented what, and we hardly get any credit for any of that. And when you look at towns like Tulsa, where they had civilization that was built on African Americans, and we were very successful, and we lost all of that. When you look into the school books now, where they're trying to erase all that history, so kids don't have to talk about it because they want to make it a balanced platform for society, when truthfully the kids really need to embrace that, understand their past and how we got over here. And I look at the news now, everybody's upset for the rioting, and I understand that you shouldn't be destroying your areas, but those areas came from us. We built all that. We didn't ask, or our ancestors didn't ask to come this way. They were brought this way, and they were forced to build. And what you got in front of you is a result of what we built.
Strength. No one is as strong as us. People of color in general, the talents, and also, the obstacles that are placed in our way, which piggybacks off of strength. Those obstacles force us to go harder and above and beyond. And we can survive as being have-nots. We don't, no disrespect to anyone who feels like they have to, take their own life when they don't have. People will lose their minds when their lights is cut off and they don't have food, and we know how to make something out of nothing. We know how to light the candles, we know how to, the beans and the weenies, even though I don't really eat beans and weenies no more, but you know what I'm saying. I ain't gonna eat beans and weenies in 2020 unless I got to. If there's a food shortage now, I'm gonna survive. I'm gonna do what I gotta do, right? Those are the things that I really adore about it. We know how to be professional have-nots if need be. Strength. Overall, a simple answer is strength. Unmatched and unparalleled strength.
It gives me pride to be a black man, just to know that I'm carrying on the fight, I'm carrying on the legacy, I'm carrying on the knowledge, the stories of those who have come before me. And so it's something that I've always held my head high with, as far as the label of being a black man, when it's always not a good label in this country.
Because I think when people see black men, they see strength and they see confidence, but also they don't see the pain in a black man that everything that a black man goes through. But my favorite part about being a black man is definitely the confidence and the strength that comes with it. As as you get older, the confidence that it's not just gained as becoming older, but it's instilled in you by everybody in the as, oh, you gotta be a black man, you gotta be strong, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. It's very nice to have that around when you don't feel that on a regular. Like, it's nice that when you don't feel good in numbers, you don't feel good, like you don't feel strong, your grandma come and reinforce you and remember that, to let you know that you're a black man, that you are one of the strongest people on the earth. It's good to have that feeling, being backed by all these people, all the other black people in the world.
Because we had to overcome so many obstacles, it forced you to have good work ethic, and be creative, being creative. I mean, I think black men are some of the most creative people in the world. I mean, other than black women, but we are very creative. So those are like the two things that I value most. It's just our work ethics and our creativity.
I also have to acknowledge the essences of who I am. I feel as a black gay male. And, in 2007, I think it was 2007, for like 2.5 years, I grew my hair out. And so I had twists. And that process taught me a whole lot about being a black male in this country. And I was sitting in the in the chair of my barber at that time. This was like in 2012 or so, when I decided to cut them out. And he was cutting my twist out, and I sat there in the barber chair and I just cried. Because I was flooded with all of these thoughts and memories of how I was treated with twist versus how I was treated before I had that. So I wasn't yearning to leave them on, but I was yearning for deeper understanding of simply why.
I go to work at 5 o'clock in the morning, and there's this white man on the street at like 4 o'clock. I was on the way to work, and he needed help getting the jump. And for me, it was just like, am I going to intimidate this man pulling up next to him, trying to help him out? And then it ended up being this situation where he needed help, but he was kind of afraid to interact with me and really talk to me. He just needed help and wanted to go. And it kind of made me feel weird, because it's just like, I want to help you, but I don't want to scare you at the same time. I don't want you to be afraid of me. I'm trying to help you. And that goes for, especially with women, it's very hard to want to help women and not make them feel uncomfortable to being water.
Being a black comedian, a lot of it's hard to even get into like white comedy rooms, because one, they think that all we're gonna do is, for some reason they think we're gonna get up there and dance, and I guess they feel like we don't have much to talk about. I don't get it. But you look at Netflix, you look at all these comedy specials, and you be like, what the hell? Like, where did they get this white dude from?
I mean, if you tell people just in general, not even white people or black folks, no nationality, just people in general, you tell them that you do music, first thing they do is, if I'm black, first thing they think is, black man, oh, you rap. No, I'm a producer. I do music, I rap, but I'm a producer, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm into the music thing. Oh, so what what kind of they do like this, people do like this, like it's like they about to break dance or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't I just do music? It's like, but that's what I'm saying. Being black, you automatically get put like, okay, you must rap. Now, I could be singing like Genuine them or something, you know what I'm saying? But they'll look at it like, oh, okay, well, he look like a hip hop guy. And that's so wrong, because I feel like some of the most successful, like I could say one person that's real successful that started a lot of this stuff, like Russell Simmons, he looked like hip hop. P. Diddy, all of them, you know what I'm saying? But they are bigger than that, and now the world see it. But they probably went through the same stereotype, and I know I have. You know what I'm saying? But the older I get, I guess the older you get, and that's why I don't knock the young kids the way they dress and everything, because we once all did that. You know what I'm saying? I get tired of I know guys my age boosting up their age by 20 years. I'm like, you know, why you acting like you old, bro? Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't. One thing I feel like is we stereotype each other because we're quick to say, why are you walking around here with them tight clothes on? Why you wearing this? Why you got all this on? Why you sag and blah, 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 blah. Like you ain't never did nothing. What happens is you lose the bond with these kids and you burn the bridge. So then you got the kids walking around getting stereotyped by you, the man, whatever you want to call it, and they just mad. They like, I can't talk to nobody.
I am a 6'3", 250 plus pound black man, and I think when most people look at me, if they don't know me, they assume I'm mean. They assume that, you know, they assume a plethora of things. But I think anybody that actually knows me will probably tell you I'm probably one of the nicest people you will meet. I know no strangers. I'll talk to anybody. It's just, you know, but I definitely think I probably miss out on interactions that probably could be pretty good with other people just because they assume certain things about me.
Like constantly having white kids be like, oh, do you know your dad? Do you know your dad? It's like, it's yes, I know my father. He's in my life. I've met him plenty of times. I've seen him plenty of times. Do you play sports? Yes, but not because I'm black. It's because I want. It's constantly where do you live? It's constantly. It's never anything positive with a black stereotype. It's never anything comes positively. It's always, oh, you like fried chicken, you like watermelon, you do this, you do that, you jump high, you run fast. It's never anything, oh, you're smart because you're black. You're smart because you're black. Why are these things associated with black people? Then you get mad when we correct you on it. What are you getting mad for when you're all these stereotypes are negative and you're bringing them up to me for what? You don't know me. You don't know me personally. You just see that I'm black, so you naturally assume I can play basketball. You see I'm black, so you naturally assume I'm angry for no reason. Instead of just getting to know me and then making assumptions based on my personality, instead of seeing my skin and being like, oh, this is that or this is that. And also stereotypes also affect me because it trying to be the opposite of that stereotype comes off ungenuine to the white people. So if I see a white person, I don't want them to think I'm angry. So I try to be nicer to them, and now it's weird because I'm purposely trying to be nice to them. So it's kind of a gray area of I don't want to be a stereotype. And I want the stereotypes for black people to change, but now I have to be stuck in the middle of I want to be a stereotype, of course. I want to be, but I want it to be a good stereotype. I want it to be, oh, I'm smart. Oh, I'm educated. I do this. I take care of my family. This and that. But instead, it's, oh, you like to rob and kill.
I remember I was watching this documentary, and they went around to the black colleges asking what are some positive stereotypes about black folks, and nobody could answer it. The question was, what are some positive stereotypes about black folks that benefit black folks as a whole? And nobody could answer the question. When you think about Mexicans, they say you're hardworking. When you think about Asians, they say they're smart with math. When you think about all these other groups, there are all these positive stereotypes. But when it comes to black folks, people can't think of positive stereotypes. And so when it comes, I feel that anger and this hyper masculinity are one of those stereotypes about black men. And I think a lot of black men try to live up to it, especially these new rappers. They try to live up to that stereotype.
I remember I was doing the show, and I'll never forget the host of this show. I hear that girl. She was with me, and she cussed me out, man. I went out there, and I tried to be a white comedian. I guess that's what I was going for. I was like, hey, you guys, what's going on? Like, my voice changed, and I was just trying to fit their type. And I never forget, she was so embarrassed. I bombed so bad. I wanted to get her money back. I remember her saying, "Yo, they called you to be you, and you gave them." She was like, "I don't know who you gave them. You gave them Will Ferrell or whatever, and that's not you." And she didn't understand at the moment. I was trying to fit their type because I felt who I was, they wasn't accepting me. So it was horrible. And she still tried to get me to watch that video, and I would not watch it.